Hello, long time no see. Guys, if you're anything like me, you'll know that summer gets really busy, so I've had a hard time keeping up with all the great new movies, but don't fret, I'm back, and we're going to talk about weapons.
This is a true story that happened right here in my town. A lot of people die in a lot of really weird ways in this story, but you're not going to find it in the news.
I think from now on, I'll just start sprinting at people, arms fully extended in this downward V position, and just see how it goes. Weapons is a new flick about a seemingly inexplainable case of 17 children from the same classroom who mysteriously go missing, all by running out their front door at 2:17 a.m., having been apparently abducted by an unseen force. So first things first, I love a good mystery. So I was excited for this one, and I was particularly excited for this one because the trailer was so excellent in the sense that it didn't seem to give too much away, but it got me really excited for the movie and what the hell was going to happen. So Weapons, written, produced, and directed by Zach Cregger, who has starred in the sitcoms Friends with Benefits and Wrecked, and written and directed Barbarian, which is a movie that I just recently rewatched, and every time I watch that one, it's just a what the f*** movie. So I was really curious what he was going to do with his new flick this year, Weapons. So let's jump right into it. Immediately, I think that Weapons opens with a great hook. We get a narration from a female child that serves as a great opening to a journey that we are about to see unfold. I think that by utilizing a child to do this narration, it adds an extra element of unease and curiosity as we get just thrown into this movie and get introduced to and zoom in on specific characters throughout. I love how Weapons is told. I love how the story is told. The movie's broken up into chapters which focus on specific characters and how each character contributes to the plot. In doing this, I think that we're really able to get a great scope of who all is who and how all are involved. I love how, based on whatever character we are focusing on, the movie will go back and forward in time, allowing the story to fit together really nicely in pieces and ultimately become fully developed. And also, focusing on the characters one by one creates great character development, and you guys know I love good character development because sometimes I feel like that's something horror lacks a lot of. So, good thing we aren't lacking here. Zooming out just a little bit, I also just like the premise of Weapons. The whole idea of an entire classroom vanishing without explanation makes for a relatively fresh plot, a relatively unique plot. I think the mysterious atmosphere was created well from the get-go, and I do think it still lingers almost entirely throughout the movie, which is a huge positive for me. While I was hoping the movie would be a little bit scarier, I did enjoy some of the eerie elements here. I think the running with the arms fully extended in the V straight at somebody makes for kind of a scary aesthetic, at least. I'd be lying to you if I didn't think about someone coming straight for me after this movie. I mean, nightmare fuel. Seriously, what the f***? But also there was a couple jump scares. There was one in particular that literally had kind of a chill send up my spine. So I think that while the scares weren't as frequent as I thought they'd be, I think that the ones they did include were done pretty well and were relatively effective. A final positive here, I do think there was actually some decent comedic elements. There's this dynamic between this kind of like young junkie guy and this cop that was quite funny at times. And there's this end scene that is quite hilarious. Like, it's very intense, but it's also hilarious, and I think that's the way that it was intended to be, which kind of was interesting. There was kind of a lot of tonal shifts, but it worked. I did feel that the addition of a couple lighthearted and funny moments in this sea of a really dark story was quite enjoyable and did add to the movie. Moving on to some critiques, I do have to say I found there to be a lot of unrealistic aspects and some unanswered questions throughout the movie. When the movie begins, the narrator tells us that Alex, who is the only kid that doesn't go missing, got questioned by the police, but they don't really mention anything about his parents or his home life, and right away that raised a red flag for me. Like, this kid is 7 years old. They aren't going to go speak to his parents. They aren't going to seriously check in on this kid. They're not going to have someone like 24/7 on him, see how his home life is doing. So there's that immediately, even before knowing what was going to happen in the story. Red flags went up, like, this mystery has something to do with this one kid that didn't get taken. And we later find out, though, that Alex is staying with his aunt and his parents are too sick to talk with anybody from the school, and the school mostly just kind of buys this, and they're like, well, we really want to speak with the parents, but okay, I guess that's fine if they're sick. Like, this kind of approach seemed unrealistic to me. Like, what kind of school is this? Talk to the parents. What is going on? It's the weirdest situation, so they kind of roll over, which I didn't think would really happen. So it took me out of the movie a little bit. I was like, I don't know if that would be the case. And also, as I continue on here, because a lot of unanswered questions has to do with what we find out about what's going on in this story, there's going to be a lot of spoilers here. So I'll mark it in the timeline and fast forward if you don't want to hear the spoilers, but if you do, Come with me. Let's talk about it. Something else that I just didn't buy in this movie is that when there's this kind of like homeless junkie kid, he finds this house because he's trying to find things to pawn off to. He finds this house, he walks into this house and starts stealing things. And what he finds there is these zombie-like people. The two parents are like zombies, and they're just sitting on the couch staring, and there's a basement full of kids that are just standing there, not even moving. And I don't care. Listen, I don't care how desperate you are. I don't care if you have zero money. No way would he just be like, that's weird, but okay, cool. Like, I did not buy it. And then another unrealistic element to me was how Alex, the kid, acted with everything that was going on. Like, I know that he was in a difficult situation, but go get some help. What the are you doing? Also, the actor was adorable, but I have to say there's even this scene kind of towards the end where his zombie parents are literally chasing him full speed, coming to kill him, and he just seems kind of unfazed. Like, it's just another day in paradise. But to be fair, he has been living with his parents in that state for quite some time at this point. So it is kind of just another day. But my God. Oh my God, the amount of non-emotion on his face was kind of crazy, kind of telling. So I was like, that felt a little bit unrealistic. Another thing that took me out of the movie a little bit. There's a couple frustrating unanswered questions. One of them that was a little bit frustrating to me, and maybe I missed it. I did have a coughing attack mid-movie of this one, guys. I had to remove myself and get a glass of water because I was dying. But what the was Gladys's motive? What was her motive? I mean, I know she was sick, and she came and said to Alex that she's going to live with him because she thinks that his parents can cure her, but then we find out that his parents can't cure her, so what she wants is his whole classroom of kids to cure her. How are these kids going to cure her? Was she going to feed off of them? What was her motive? What did she want with them? They were just kind of sitting in the basement for a long time. What was going on? I didn't get that. That was never clear to me, and so it was a little frustrating to me. And again, I know you guys will tell me if I missed something. Another unanswered question I left with was towards this end scene, we finally see Gladys get killed off. Then we see the character of Archer, who just before Gladys was killed off was changed into one of the hypnotized zombies that was sent to kill Justine. And just like Alex's parents, just like the kids, he was in that same sort of state. But when Gladys is killed, we see Archer go back to being his normal self. Nothing's changed. He's not even in like a semi-zombie state. But however, when Gladys gets killed off, the mom and dad and the kids are still stuck in their zombie state, with maybe them being able to talk years down the road, is what they explained to us. So I left with this question of why was Archer able to go completely back to normal, but the kids and the parents were not, and they were almost stuck? Was it a timing issue? That is, Archer was only turned for a couple minutes or hours, whereas the kids and the adult were in that state for a very long amount of time. It just wasn't explained to me. So I would like to know that. And also to add to that, the end was very abrupt in that sense. Basically, like Gladys was killed off, and then they were like, the kids never went back to normal. So it's kind of an upsetting ending as well that just abruptly ends, which was unfortunate. And then there was just some other inconsistency that I noticed. For example, when Alex sends the kids to go after and kill Gladys, wouldn't he need like a hair or item from each and every one of the kids in order for all of the kids to go after her? Maybe he had that, maybe I missed it, but I felt like there were some inconsistencies with the stick break and how the hypnosis worked. And also, didn't Alex grab one of Gladys's wig hairs instead of her actual hairs? I may be wrong on that, but I think that wouldn't work, would it? You know, so just things like that. I left with thinking, wait a minute, did this happen? Why was that? What was her motive? What was going on? Did they break that in the same way? So I left with a lot of those questions and a lot of those inconsistencies. Final thing is the female child that I really liked that narrated the beginning of the story and the end of the story. It really did beg the question though for me, who was that child? I don't know if we ever met them Or maybe you guys have theories on who that was. Not like a huge damper to the film, but I definitely left thinking, who was that? Some just random little girl? I don't know. I wish there was more significance to that. But overall, guys, I did enjoy Weapons. I think the movie had a great hook, great character development, and a unique way of piecing the story together through the lens of each of the characters involved. I thought there was some well done spooky moments, and I enjoyed the mystery of it. However, I did think the movie definitely had some flaws. I'm gonna give this a 3.5 out of 5. I just noticed some inconsistencies, felt characters acting in moments pretty unrealistically, and just left with so many questions, but Weapons is entertaining. And I can tell that a lot of thought went into this movie, and I really do like the story. But let's see what the general consensus is. Okay, interesting. This one is kind of split. 3.3. Actually, I'm pretty spot on. What did I say? 3.5. There's a lot of ratings here too. 3,391. It makes sense that a lot of people are loving it. I expected that. I think that it's pretty unique and well told. But yeah, there's some things left unanswered. So I think 3.3 is actually pretty accurate for this one. Okay, I appreciate that one. Well, Rotten Tomatoes really like this one. 93% Rotten Tomatoes, 7.9 out of 10 IMDb. So if you don't think too hard about this one, like if you don't think about all of the inconsistencies and some of the questions and stuff, like it is a good watch. It's an entertaining watch. I wouldn't miss it this year. I would definitely, not even see it in the theaters, but definitely see it when it's streamed. Definitely give it a watch at some point. It was pretty good in the theaters. I saw it in the XD theater and it was pretty good. It was pretty fun. And some of the scares there, I think, were effective. Couple of them. So while it does have its flaws, I think it is well crafted, and I think that it delivers a pretty solid horror movie for 2025. But those are my thoughts. What do you guys think? I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know. Share your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to hear. And thank you guys for watching, and catch me next time. Peace.